Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of the Redox 5. My name is Dr. Lee Osler. I'm in Washington State. That's in the United States. We've got people joining us from all over the world. And as you do, maybe you can hop on the chat and let us know where you're coming from. We excuse Dr. Maureen Hayes tonight, who's away with her family. And I'm
Nice.
joined with illustrious co-hosts Jim and Ann Glenn, originating in San Antonio, Texas. And we are joined tonight by Dr. Marty Morin, who is a veterinary research scientist and has a wealth of knowledge across many terrains. And so we're going to tap into that tonight. And we also have the illustrious Beth Wofford, who's joining us, who is I guess you could call her the ultimate horse lady. Or the horse whisperer or something. She has an incredible story with regards to animals. She conducts one of the Facebook groups related to animals and redox signaling and how it works on there. So welcome, Dr. Marty Morin and Beth Wofford to Redox 5.
Yeah.
Great to be
Super.
back.
I wanted to step in only because I leave at 8:45. And I know your story, Marty. So I know Jim will ask you, how did you hear of us? What brought you to ASEA? But it always intrigues me. You'll share in your story how it helped your own physical health. And I'm assuming that was the start of it before you thought of it doing anything for our lovely animals, which I just finished giving my dog his routine of ASEA every day. So maybe you can share the health story of your own self and how that led into the picture of how you educate for animals. And then
Jim,
Lee,
do you want to do a little? Do you want to
Lee,
do a little redox intro first? Shall we
Yeah,
do
if you
that?
don't mind.
Yeah, do
right, so
both.
We always
before
want to start the show with what the heck are we talking about?
Right.
Yeah.
Because there's
Well,
always going to be new people that either watch it live or watch the recording. So, and then I want you to also, share your version
Right.
of how you share redox as well. So, Marty, go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah, no, this is a really big deal. The fact that we have the ability to supplement back to our body, bioreplenish, Maureen would correct me, supplement back to our body something our body is already making. Quite frankly, you wouldn't be alive on this call tonight if you weren't making these redox molecules. I call that vital. I suggest during this call, you continue to breathe oxygen and you are making redox molecules already. Now, why supplement them then? If I'm making them, why do I need to supplement them? Well, it's because as we age, we make less and less of these little molecules. And it starts to decline around the time of puberty. So for me, that was an incredibly long time ago, almost prehistory. And so we want you to understand that these molecules are vital for your life. If you weren't making them, you would already be at the undertaker. So that's really important, just like breathing oxygen, very, very important. But they're here to help our cells function properly. And, we could talk about disease 1 or disease 2 or disease 10, 20, 100. It's all the same problem. If your body knew that problem existed, your body would already be working on it. Dr. Lee will probably tell us his version of the inner doctor, turning on our inner doctor. But if your body knew, your body would already be correcting that problem. So why do we have disease? It's because our body doesn't know. And to me, one of the images of that is just a cell phone. Got a cell phone here, totally useless instrument. No, Marty, you can use it every day. Yes, I can, because there's a cell tower outside. This phone by itself can't make a phone call if there's not a cell tower outside. So if you would like your cells in your body to make their phone calls for help, here's your cell tower. And so those of us on this call have figured out, because somebody cared enough to call our houses and tell us about this story. Many of us were skeptics. I was a super skeptic, but we tried it. We learned about it. We tried it. And our lives were, I'll speak for myself, my life was turned around. And so I have to share it. I mean, how could I keep something like this to myself when anybody I share this with that figures it out will be truly blessed by learning this information? Certainly my wife, Kathy, and I were. Do you want to start with the story?
Yeah.
Well, real quick, Marty. I just lost my train of thought. Your background, real quick. Why, and then how you heard about it as well, because this is typically a friend to friend to friend type of a relationship, how people hear about this. So your background real quick, and then how and why did someone share it with you?
And that fits with my question about your own health leading to animals.
Well, my entire active veterinary career I am a licensed veterinarian, state of Maryland, East Coast of the US. But my active veterinary career was in the research laboratory. And so good friends called us up. We knew them from other activities we were doing. And they said, look, and they're medical people, both a doctor and a nutrition person. So they both had great credentials. And they called up and said, look, John and I are trying something new, and we think it's making a big difference for us. Are you willing to learn about it? That's about all they said. And they sent us a video. We watched the video. Quite frankly, I thought it was all hooey. Saltwater product from Salt Lake City. It didn't sound very likely to work for me. Again, background in a research laboratory, never heard about redox molecules up until that point in time. And so I was a skeptic, but if they were right and I didn't find out about it, wouldn't I be feeling pretty foolish? So we were happy to watch their video. We took a phone call from them in a couple of days, ordered the product, and then it worked. Quite frankly, I had no trouble with starting it. I wasn't expecting to stay on it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Marty, did they know that you had a health challenge at that time?
No, I
They
had
had no idea.
idea.
You did have a kind of a challenge going on at that time, right?
Yeah, I had a bunch of challenges. My day started with some over-the-counter discomfort relievers, and 2 hours later, I switched products, and 2 hours later, I switched products, and 2 hours later, I was back to number one. That was my day. So I was in discomfort all day, every day. And, but quite frankly, that was the least of my concerns. I had all kinds of other things going on that I was very unhappy about. And I was 66 years old at the time. I'm 76 now. And so I was watching my body fall right off a cliff, and I was worried. And so all kinds of things started to change. And probably the most obvious, and a lot of people experience it this way, the most obvious one was sleep. Both my wife, Kathy, and I were sleeping better. 180 degrees out of phase, mind you. Our lives, our sleep patterns flipped upside down, but we both perceived it as positive. So here's a message for you. Don't measure your benefits with this product on somebody else's experience. Yours will probably be unique to you, and that's great. Don't try to steal other people's benefits. Just enjoy the ones you get. And so we were sleeping differently, but both perceived it to be positive. But what really got my attention, Jim, was an exercise benefit I had. It was a hot day. A neighbor teenager came over to help me move a bunch of mulch around in our yard. And Kathy came out of the house not once, but twice, maybe even 3 times to say, would you slow down?
Or
But somehow I knew my body could do that work. And I woke up the next day expecting to be almost a cripple because of all that exercise, but I wasn't. And so that was the first day I picked up the telephone and called. I actually called my brother and I said, I can't explain this to you, but something unique is going on here. You need to know about it. So basically the same speech we got.
So what, do you mind if I throw up an old picture of you real quick?
Mm-hmm.
And
now that's a year later though, right?
Well, that's what I want to know. What in the world made you, honestly, I mean, but what made you do that?
Well,
I mean,
some of my
person, now I challenge everybody and I do this, but no sane, I've had two people do it. But I go, will you do this? Will you do your half of your face? But again, what made you do that?
Well, I, at the beginning of this journey with the topical gel form of this technology, same technology, it's just in a topical gel form. I was showing people photographs of older people like myself, older people's skin doing better when the gel was applied. And they said, Marty, you're just being tricked. That's a Photoshop image. And I thought, well, my face has two sides. I'm a researcher. I have a research background. So I started putting the gel on twice a day. One side, just the right side of my face for 28 days, took a single photograph. That wasn't me that did that cropping and editing and words on a piece of, that one. This image has gone around the world to help people understand there's got to be something to a technology that can change this guy's face in 28 days. And anybody in ASEA is welcome to use this picture if they want to.
I think everybody already has it, Marty.
I'm sure they do. That's good.
There'll be some new ones that may not.
Yeah. So how did you make the jump to critters?
Well, and before you do that, Lee should do the disclaimer.
Yeah, Lee, if you don't mind.
I'd be happy to do that. The context there is we're representing a company called ASEA Global, which has a supplement, as you well know by now, that has redox signaling molecules. And we do not diagnose, treat, or cure with those. This is a supplement for cellular health, cellular function, as we've been discussing. Very pure and simple. That's the disclaimer.
Very good.
Lee, if you don't mind, can you please in advance explain why we use what we call code? Why we don't name a disease or a condition. And yeah, if you don't mind just kind of hitting on that real quick.
Yeah, this has an interesting history to explain that. And to me, and I know to a lot of other health professionals, I think this is meaningful, to have discovered that this originally was not in this pathway. It was in a drug pathway where a biotech company was developing this to actually go into big pharma with it as a drug for some very significant diseases that were, very, very big, a very big deal back in the 90s and at the turn of the century. So, so they were going down that pathway to be a drug, and one of the requirements was that you had to get what's called an LD50 certificate in order to continue your drug investigation. And that's called a lethal dose 50, or where they increase the dosage of whatever the drug, agent, substance, whatever it is, until 50% of the laboratory animals perish. Usually they're mice. And then they know, through some calculations, they know what this LD50 is. You get a certificate, and you can continue your drug investigation. The whole point of that is related to toxicity. It's like, how dangerous is this, and where do we go from there? Well, there is no toxicity. This is saline and energized reactive molecules suspended in the saline, and it's not toxic. In fact, the whole point of all this is you'll hear the term cell signaling or redox signaling molecules. All of those are synonyms for the same thing. And so when the road closed, the door shut for drug development, some some very intelligent, smart people got involved and said, well, there is something to this. It's just not going to be a drug. So they were able to flip it to the supplement side of the FDA. Obviously, there's new different rules that apply as a supplement versus a drug. But the big ones is that we don't diagnose, treat, or cure. We can't name medical conditions. And so this code talk is, sometimes with a wink and a nod, but the whole point is this is a cellular health product. It's a cellular health company. And the whole inner doctor, inner healer idea is that we have the native capacity inherent within us to be able to respond, to sense, to respond, and to adapt to the environmental and the metabolic stresses that we encounter in daily living, such that we can repair, renew, recover, become stronger. We call it resilience. It's increasing your strength, your capacity. And so we speak this way because it's a supplement. And so we encourage everybody to not be afraid of it and to not think weird about it. It's just something that you haven't heard before because it's a brand new concept. This is a new category and it's never been around before.
Yeah, and if we could jump off from that, this isn't the only thing that's been new. And accepting a new product often takes time. I would go back to penicillin. Penicillin was discovered in the late 1800s and totally ignored. It wasn't rediscovered until Fleming found it in the late 1920s. And still it was ignored. New products are not immediately accepted. What caused the acceptance of penicillin? It was World War II. Now, I hope we don't need World War whatever for you guys to figure out that these redox molecules work and they will bless your life. But so our strong encouragement to you is, yes, this may sound weird. Saltwater product from Salt Lake City, what could possibly go wrong with that? I didn't believe a word of it, but I tried it. And then when my body started to respond, I had to go find people like Beth and Dr. Lee. I had to go find people to explain this to me. Why in the world is this working? Because my body was, as I say, falling off a cliff. And now it's not.
Yeah, I was going to ask something real quick. So I heard you earlier say your intent was not to stay on it. So you kind of did this thing because, friends were telling you and maybe you thought it was going to do something and then get off it. I mean, I'm sure obviously you changed your mind to stay on it this long, but why did you think, well, I'll just try it for 60 days, or what was your initial thinking?
Well, to be honest, my initial thinking was my wife wanted me to go see an eye doctor I didn't want to see. And she wanted me to go see the prostate doctor. I didn't want to see him for sure. And so my friends were offering me a way to get out of town.
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to drink this stuff and I'm going to get out of town. Now I came back on that trip. We did get out of town. We came back. My eye was better and my prostate was better. Mostly my discomfort was gone.
Yeah. Not all that repeat of pills.
When did you I can't wait to get to Beth, but when did you make the switch to your furry friends?
It could work on animals.
That just kind of comes second nature. I mean, if you find something that works, you're going to try it and everything. Don't forget your plants. If you have a plant you care about, spray it.
You see all mine behind me?
Yeah. Why not?
I got a lot of exotic plants. Yeah, I don't water my plants with it, but it's fascinating that it works on everything.
Spray the plants. Every living cell on the planet is alive and functioning in part because of redox molecules.
We definitely do it on roses when they come.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
it makes
sure,
such
why
a
not?
difference. Yeah.
So now who came first, the chicken or the egg? You or Beth? Beth, were you here first? Because I know you've been around a long time as well with the SIA.
She was
With the
sooner, I
SIA.
think.
Yeah.
February of 2010. Yeah, I think I was in before Marty was. Yeah.
That's what I thought.
And then you guys met along the path, along the SIA highway.
At a
We just
convention.
because people started talking more and more to me about animals, because I just poured it on everything that walked, because I knew it was we knew it was safe. Once I found out that it was safe, and I thought, and it was just helping so many people, and it's so natural, and it's so beneficial, and our bodies are just healing themselves. I mean, that made so much common sense. I'm not educated enough to have been skeptical. I just said, oh, look, you add more mitochondria, you can make more ATP. It's natural to the body. There's no toxicity. Man, why wouldn't everybody be on this? I mean, it made so much common sense to me that I thought, let's try it on all our animals. And back then the company was so new that I was kind of I was definitely the first professional animal person that was associated with ASEA. So through the years, I mean, Marty and I kind of hooked up. When Marty came on, everybody said, oh, you should meet Marty Morin. And so we kind of are a team now.
Okay, so real quick, Beth, what is your background? What do you do?
My background, yeah, I'll just say a little bit more about this during the personal story that I have. But my husband and I train young thoroughbred racehorses on our farm here in Kentucky, in Lexington. And we've done that for over 50 years, which is amazing. But I can't believe that. But anyway, I've been making my living with animals my whole life. So when I find something and that works so well for humans, and I understand the process behind it, it's safe, and every living cell can benefit. Why wouldn't I pour it in everything that every animal I love, And what we found, which I think Marty will back me up, is it actually almost works better and faster, certainly, on animals than it does on people. My feeling is about that is that they don't overthink it. They don't sit there and go, oh, this must just be salt water. There's no way I can feel better. You talk yourself out of it. And animals don't do that. They just go, I want more. And I've heard it more and more and more. It's just, I've been blessed to be kind of earmarked as the ASEA animal person, which I love, because I now have literally hundreds and hundreds of stories of what this has done for animals of just about every species you can come up with. And it's been so much fun. It's really neat.
So Beth, how did you get introduced into ASEA?
Well, I hesitate a little bit to say this because also my friend was a medical doctor. Those of you who know the redoxdoc.com, Rob Ward was my sponsor, and he was a very, very dear friend, and called me and said, this is something that's really special. And I said, and he explained, he walked through the science with me a little bit, because I love science, and I've biological scientists all through my family. So he went through it a little bit, and I said, that just makes so much sense. And I was in like that, but I was in because I thought it was going to prevent me from getting, I didn't think I had any issues. Turns out I had some chronic issues that I'd had since childhood, that I thought there's no way this could fix that, because, I've had these horrible, agonizing, one-sided headaches for my whole life since I was 11 years old. There's no way anything could help that, because no medication has ever helped that. So it never occurred to me that it might help that. I just thought it was going to keep me younger longer. I thought it was going to keep us both, my husband and I, active, and we will be training horses until we're 90. So I just wanted to continue to do that. But I found out quickly that, guess what? I started drinking these molecules, and lo and behold, those horrible headaches that interfered with my life no longer came about. And that was 14 years ago. And I've never had one since then. So not good. It's been a wonderful, wonderful experience. But again, I came on board because of the prevention idea and because I trusted the person who introduced me and because it made common sense to me. Anything that helps your body work better, work and heal itself is what really turns me on. I love that. I think that's the best thing we can do for our bodies. So that's how it happened. And then once I started, having all these experiences, just like all of us, once you know what it does, and my loved ones, my dad and my husband and my kids, I mean, once you see everything, and my dogs and my cats, everything, you have to share it. You have to.
Well, Beth, could you restate, maybe go back and deepen it just a little bit, the comment that you made a couple of minutes ago about, animals don't overthink it and humans do. This is a really pivotal and important concept. Because we humans, we sit here and we discount stuff. And obviously that's factored into research. Sophisticated research algorithms account for placebo, right? And so
absolutely.
Marty could be also offer a tip here because he's on the research side, but I don't think you go around and interview, dogs and horses and ask them how they feel about what's going on, do you?
Actually, the amazing thing is you're absolutely right. You can't placebo an animal. That's the basic part of it. And honestly, that's what there's a lot of very scientific, brilliant people who get in their own way until every once in a while you'll get somebody that goes, holy cow, if it helped this dog, basically this can't be all in the head. It can't be placebo. And it really is the thing that changes someone's mind. I just love to see my animals feel better and hear stories of animals feeling better. I've got a 15-year-old farm dog who is my husband's best friend, and he's his shadow. And he runs around the farm like a crazy dog. You would not believe it. People say how old he is, and they can't believe it. He's been on a ASEA for 7 or 8 years now. And he's just as young as he can be. And you love that. You love to see that. Is it going to promote, is my dog going to live forever? Of course he isn't. But what we have found so many times is that it helps the quality of life so much, which again is what attracted me to it. I wanted to stay younger longer. I want my animals to stay healthier until it's their time to go. And I feel the same way. And that's really what we've seen. We've seen so many animals that, are going through the aging process and they're hurting, and they're like Marty was, and they're hurting, and you give them ASEA and they're like puppies again, and they enjoy themselves and they run around and until it's their time. So it really is, it's very heartwarming to see.
Yeah, it doesn't matter the biological clock. It's the optimal health until your last day or your animal's last day, which is why we give it to our gorgeous big dog. So
let's come back to Lee for a second, because he's the one that talks not about lifespan, because having a long life in pain, it's not a great idea, but health span. So Lee, maybe you can elaborate on both health span and inner doctor for people.
Yeah.
Well, it's helpful to look at the contrast of that, because we think of health as the absence of symptoms. Well, I can make the symptoms go away with drugs. We call those interventions. And so, if I did have discomfort in my head, as Beth was talking about, or which you, Marty, were experiencing every 2 hours, alternating a different discomfort drug, we can make the symptom go away, and we can remain functional and ambulatory and productive in society, right? And go enjoy the grandkids and whatever, because I'm using an intervention to keep me going. And so I like to characterize it this way, that on average, whatever the average death date is late 70s, as I recall, 76, 78, just because of average. But the research that I've read says that 16 years prior to that is the beginning of, or the end of health span on average, which means that if we just picked a number, say 76, that means that at about age 60-ish, we're going to need interventions to remain productive and ambulatory and healthy. We'll need knee replacements and drugs and whatever it is for all the elements that we have. But my point is that you could say it this way: we start dying at age 60, and we just taper down, but the interventions keep us going until 76. Again, I'm just using those numbers to illustrate. And so the point is, could I, from a health point of view, which is again not the absence of symptoms, but it's real health, genuine health. If I'm healthy, it means I don't need drugs to control, my cardiovascular system, my blood pressure. I have normal blood pressure and normal blood glucose and normal body weight, and all of that is without the aid of drugs, right? That would be health. I don't have symptoms. And so I'm thankful that we have drugs. We're talking mass numbers of people here, right? But philosophically, conceptually, and literally, if I start dying when I'm 60, I really do want to hang around long enough to be at my youngest grandchild's wedding or whatever the objective is. I want to stay a part of my family and a part of life. And for most of us, we have to use drugs to make that happen. So we're not saying that that's an evil, bad thing. We're just saying if you had a choice to be healthy and to make your cells work like they're supposed to, so that you didn't need interventions and you could live kind of like live, and maybe, I don't know, like Beth said, when the animal, when it's their time, like the week I'm supposed to die, then I get sick. It's like, but why get sick 16 years before I die, right? And that's the concept here. But we don't think that way because we have been so, in our society, we've been so trained that that health is the absence of symptoms. Medical doctors and dentists and health professionals look at their patients and say, yeah, you're healthy because your blood pressure is normal or your blood sugars are normal. But guess what it took to make that happen? They're not really healthy. They have metabolic disease. If you're taking medications, you have chronic degenerative disease. End of story. So anyway, it's a fascinating concept, isn't it? Health span versus lifespan.
Well, and the beauty of this,
I love that because you're talking about me. At 66 years old, I was the drug, not addict, but I was on all kinds of maintenance drugs to be miserable. All right. Yeah. And along comes this product, which made absolutely no sense to me at all in the beginning. But this, going back to your other concept of waking up the inner doctor, or in my little example with the phone, I have been able to make sure my body knows where the problems are. And over these 10, almost 11 years now, my body has corrected all of those things that were nagging problems requiring a pharmaceutical. And look, I've worked in the pharmaceutical industry. I don't want to throw stones at every window in their building, just a few of them. But pharmaceuticals are foreign compounds, people, be careful, right? When we put a foreign compound into our body's got to figure out how to get rid of that thing. And that causes, almost drug one causes drug two. So just, if you had a way, like the 76-year-old, he didn't pick 76 because he knew that was my age. He didn't do that. But if you had a way to avoid using foreign compounds, I strongly encourage you to understand it, study it, make a decision. And if I have an admonition to anybody, it's give it a try. Just don't dismiss it because it sounds weird. Give it a try. Changed my life.
Yeah. I like the word Lee just used, dependence. Jim was dependent on multiple, I won't name them all, and he's been med-free since September of 2015. But I watched him on literally hundreds and hundreds of pill popping over the years we've been together. So I was thinking earlier when you were first sharing, Marty, and I don't have a lot of time since I'll pop off in 10, but the beauty of this product is it's cell regenerating. So it doesn't matter what the ABC condition is. We already know we're in a deficit from puberty on. If, like you said, if the people would give it a try long enough and take enough, they will start seeing their cells regenerate. I think of a person who recently went to a doctor appointment, and the doctor said, well, this is something molecular that needs to change. Doesn't know about redox, of course, but that lady left with that little word. And then she came to me as a new customer because I shared with her redox molecules, signaling molecules. So he used that word generically, and it got her attention. She better do something. But I real quick want to ask Beth, because you brought it up at the very beginning, Lee, or no, maybe it was Marty, about Beth and her sites on Facebook. Can you quote, because there are new people there are Facebook followers that probably don't know. I love the animal sites. I tag people all the time, but somebody new to Facebook or don't know the animal ones, maybe y'all can name off the link.
Sure.
I still do the archives of y'all's show, but do the Facebook one for sure so they know how to find it. And I appreciate
Sure,
y'all's time
absolutely.
tonight.
Yeah, on my Facebook page is Healthy Redox Pets. And you have to, again, because of what Lee was talking about, that we have to be very careful about not being confused with a medical device or whatever. You do have to ask to be joined or have someone join, have someone that is already a member join you. But I approve everybody. I shouldn't say that just categorically, but I do. And I'm on the site every single day. So if you do, I promise you'll be accepted on the site immediately. Well, within the same day. And also basically it's just stories. We can't answer questions. We can't talk about dosage. We can't do all the medical things. We have to be very careful about that. So we basically just tell stories. And this is how my animal felt before I gave him redox. This is how he feels now. And there are at least 100, probably much more than that on that site now. The animalwebinar.com. Again, it's password protected for the same reason. The password is associate with a capital A. So
it's in the chat.
And go in.
Yes.
Yeah, go in there to the right. Good. If you typed it in the chat, that's wonderful. And click on archives, and then you have to put the password in again. But the archives have close to 40 half-an-hour videos there we used to do that every month where people would just come on and tell their stories. So that's a really nice place. You can share those to anybody. You can click on them and use the link. So hopefully that'll help.
I think this is the perfect time to lead into your story, Beth. What just happened to you?
Well, one of the beautiful things about this community we have is, it just keeps getting better. I've been with this company and taking this product and using the product and sharing this product for 14 years, and new things keep coming up. And I've had it's like a silver lining happened to me. Hold on, I'm going to share my screen. About Smokey. Those of you, hold on one second. Let me get this started. Those of you who know me, we've already talked about the fact that my husband and I have our farm here in Kentucky, and we break and train young racehorses. This is our barn that we built 15 years ago. It was a barn. It's our beloved barn. It's not fancy, but it is every single nail in this barn. We designed it. We made it exactly the way we wanted it. And probably my husband spends more time there than he does in the house, if you really add up all the hours. We love this barn. But about a month ago, this happened. Our wonderful barn burned to the ground. And immediately, that meant that our entire income, we just were watching our dreams go down the drain. This was the next morning. We were standing there. No horses were hurt. I'm so sorry. I should have said that earlier. The barn was empty of horses, so no horses were damaged in any way. Thank heavens that was basically a silver lining. But we were sitting here the next day. We were standing here the next day, and I was getting really teary because we realized our barn kitty must not have gotten out. But just when I was sitting there and I was starting to get really teary, we start hearing meowing. And this, one of his, probably 4 or 5 of his lives he used, and he came running to us from the nearby woods and was very severely traumatized. He was, he had burns. He was terrified. He had burns on his face. His ears were so burned that we thought we were going to lose them. His feet were blistered, and his fur was all singed. His white fur was singed yellow. You can see that. And he was a mess, and he smelled horrible. It just broke our hearts, but we were so excited that he made it. It was just amazing. That burn over his right eye. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
How old is he?
Oh, he's only 10 months old. So he's just a kid.
Little. Goodness.
Okay.
I know.
Thank you.
He's just a kid. So the burn over his right eye was so bad that it was almost closing his right eye. You can see that. Well, a very dear friend of ours who's a horse vet, he came over the next morning immediately as soon as he heard about it. And we had just found him and put him in a carrier to try to keep him. And I was taking him up to the house. Now, this was a barn cat. He'd never been in a house before. So he was just wigged out because his home was gone. So my friend said, we were obviously unhinged. And so he said, let me take the cat. I'll take him to a small animal vet and have him checked out, making sure his lungs are okay. And then I'll take him home for a few days and just nurse him back to health while you all are dealing with what you're dealing with, which I thought was incredibly kind of him. But I must say I'm very embarrassed because I was so rigged out that I forgot to give him any Renew. I forgot to give my vet friend the Renew to put on him. So poor kitty did not have any Renew until I brought him home 5 days later. But as soon as I started, then I was very concerned that I was not going to be able, that he was going to be hurting so badly that he wasn't going to want me to put his Renew on. However, he loved it. I would put it on my hands. I put a blob on my hands and I would just rest it over that burn over his right eye. And I just hold it there and just kind of massage it around without rubbing the skin, but I'd massage it around a little bit. And he would lean and press against my hand. He loved it. And then I would do it to the burn over his left eye, even though it looks bad here. It wasn't as bad as the right one, but it was ears. We were very worried about his ears. And my vet friend said he'll probably lose his ears because they're so badly burned, they'll probably slough off. And I thought, oh, how am I going to touch these poor ears? And yet I got a lot of Renew, but it's such a soothing gel. So I get a lot of it on, and I would just kind of fold my fingers over the top of his ear and just hold on to his ear, not rub, not do anything, but just hold on. And he would lean into my hand and he'd purr and purr. He sounded like a chainsaw. It was just wonderful. It made me feel so good. And at the end, I would rub my hands together and I'd rub it all over his fur. And you can see him start changing so that he was within about 2 days, his smell, he didn't smell so singed anymore. And the best thing is he got his personality back. So after 10 days, if you don't speak cat, that little curl of a tail means he's really happy. And he started playing again. I was playing with him and he was, look at that face. I mean, look at him and look at how clean he is. Even that picture just tickles me because he's made look at his eyes are wide open. That burn above his right eye is healing. And his ears, even though they're a little bit smaller, his ears now, each day I would rub them just real gently, and that some of those scabs would start sloughing off. And now his ears are healthy again. So it was just absolutely incredible. And it was like, it was symbolized, kind of a rebirth for us to rebuild our barn. So that's what we're going to be doing. That's what we're in the process of. So.
Well, I guess
anyway,
the big question I have, is he an indoor cat now?
He is actually, yes, we had a talk about that and said, this is not fair to put him out. At first, we thought his paws weren't going to heal enough to have him be really comfortable outside. And then I thought, I can't do this to him anymore. But we already have cats in our house. And so my daughter, who is a research veterinarian, just like Marty Morin, and I just took him down to Athens, Georgia. She's now living in his house. I mean, in her house. He's living in her house in Athens, Georgia, and he's having a ball. He's now has her cats as friends. So he's doing great. And it just makes me so happy.
Do the ears move the way you would expect?
Absolutely. I mean, there's no, you kind of thought they were going to be cauliflower ears. That's almost what they felt like, like those, if you have ever seen boxers that have been hit and and the cartilage hardens, that's what I thought they were going to end up being. But they're really smooth and pliable. They're great. They're just, the tips of them probably sloughed off because he kind of looks a little like a bear. He's got little round ears now. I've got to get her to send me a new picture.
Did he ever drink it? Did he ever drink any of it? Did you ever get him to drink it?
He was so traumatized that I felt like I just couldn't. He just was like, I just felt like I couldn't stick something in his mouth to squirt it in his mouth.
Spray something as well.
Right. And I just figured, he loved the gel so much and it was so cooling and it felt so good. I used the spray a lot in the barn because the horses seemed to love it, but it was my intuition that thought maybe the gel is the best way to go for him. Yeah.
Well, and maybe Marty or Lee, maybe you can explain, because here I go, and it's the same thing with the tube, and I look at it's a dietary supplement, but I look more at the ingredients, and it's sodium chloride and water. Mm-hmm. Now, anybody with brain is going to go, wait a minute, no, you don't put salt water on a burn. So Lee or Marty, why didn't that cat freak out and scream bloody murder and take off like a scalded cat?
I've got some ASEA in my little spray bottle right here. And if this was salt water, would I spray it in my eyes? It would really hurt if you did. Yeah. I keep my eyes open.
Let's all do it together.
Well, it is very comfortable. And so there's your proof it's not salt water. But redox molecules come from salt and water. If you go inside your cells or between your cells, we are in large measure, we are made of salt water. And so these little mitochondria we were talking about are taking the salt apart. So if you take sodium away from chloride, it's not salt, folks. It's a sodium ion and a chloride ion. If you take hydrogen away from oxygen, it's not water. You recombine these little molecules or these little atoms, and you make new products, and they happen to be called redox signaling molecules. Don't want you blaming any of us. As long as there have been living cells on this planet, this process has been going on in every living cell. And all we're talking about is, if you're an adult, I expect almost everybody up at this time of the day is an adult on this call, you are deficient. I guarantee you every adult on the planet would benefit from using this technology to help level out their redox molecules, to level out their cell function. And if you want to live younger, longer, if you don't want to be dying 16 years, I think Lee said, 16 years before your actuarial departure date. By the way, I guess I'm hitting my actuarial departure date, and I plan to be here another 40 years.
You look wonderful.
Well, just forget this whole actuarial table. We're going to blow it away. If you guys figure this out, and if you share it with some of your friends, we can turn that actuarial table into something really amazing.
Now, Marty, I want to ask you a quick question, then I want Dr. Osler to answer another one. You were talking about it always works. I'm going to have Lee touch on that, but could you please discuss early on my biggest fear is that people start drinking this and applying the gel, and they may have what they perceive to be a negative reaction. Okay, can you please mention the rebalancing, what I call rebalancing back to homeostasis, rebalancing back to normal? As Dr. Carmen Keith once said, well, you're cleaning out a bunch of junk, and you got to expect you may feel a little bit puny for a little bit. But can you kind of cover that real quick? And then, Leah, I've got one for you as well.
Again, I like simple images. We keep our kitchen garbage in the kitchen. And eventually Kathy says, it's time for this to go out. And so I bag it up and I take it out into the garage. But guess what, folks? The garage is still inside our house. All right. So somebody brand new, or me 10 years ago, I start using a technology like this, and it's inside my cells tossing out the garbage. But once the garbage leaves the cell, where is it? It's inside the body, right? All right, so one of the things I try to do with everybody new I start is to, while their order is in transit to their house, start drinking a lot of water right now. Start increasing your mobility right now. I don't need you to go out and run a marathon. If you're a walker, go walk. If you have stairs in your house, use them. Move your body and drink a lot of water. Now, we could throw in good nutrition in there, would be a really great idea as well. But it's
Marty,
our
what's
job
a lot of water? What's a lot of water?
More
we all
than
say half our body weight in ounces of water a day.
I say more than what you were drinking yesterday.
Okay.
I don't like to complicate it, right? Just drink more water, because you want to set your body up in a mode to flush, right? And so your lymph system, totally passive. Actually, your venous return system is also passive. If your muscles aren't contracting and relaxing, you're not moving your blood back up to your heart. You're not getting the lymph system to move the products that you don't want anymore, your body doesn't want anymore, to a place where the body can eliminate them, right? So the trash is in my house until the garbage truck takes it away, right? Think about it that way. Your job is to be the trash man inside your body. Water, exercise, maybe putting a little less trash in there with better nutrition would be a good idea at the same time. But when people do that, they're ready for this product, and I hardly have anybody that's complaining about a noticeable detox reaction.
Okay, then maybe Lee, can you kind of hit on that real quick? Because I know that your wife, when she started, she had that symptom. And I just want people to understand that when you start drinking this in the beginning, you may have that rebalancing back to normal, and it may cause you to not feel too good. Can you touch on that, what your wife did? And I still have one question for you, Lee, please.
Well, what we're talking about is detoxification. And detoxification is a cellular function. And this garbage that we accumulate through our metabolism, burning foods for energy, creates metabolic waste and byproducts. We also have the environment around us that is toxifying us as we eat toxins or breathe toxins and so forth. And so one of the important functions of the cell is to upregulate the gene pathways that are responsible for detoxification. And if we're not actively doing that at the cellular level, then I'm just storing the garbage. It stays in the cell. But suddenly when I do something that improves my cell function, meaning I'm able to sort through the garbage and start disposing of it, I can feel crappy because the crap's coming out. It's like, it's not fun. And again, if you have this mindset of, health is no symptoms, right? Well, you're going to say, hey, this is going the wrong direction. This is supposed to make me feel better. but really I call it a backdoor validation that it really is working. Your cells are now starting to dump garbage. And what Dr. Morin was talking about was, well, we need to facilitate not just the trash compactor, but we need to facilitate getting it outside so that it's eliminated through the elimination channels of the body.
Okay, so your wife, when she started not feeling good. And what did you do? Like the loving husband you are, you did what?
Well,
you gave her a little bit more.
Yeah, so we didn't know, the person that recommended us that we do this was not a part of ASEA. He was a physician who'd heard about it, and her health condition was, pretty dire. And I think he was kind of scratching the bottom of the barrel that he had. He wasn't really sure where to go with this. And he just said, I think you should get some redox signaling molecules. I've heard about it. This is an MD who has a PhD in pharmacology. And so, he kind of knew everything, right? And so we got some at that recommendation, and it was like flipping a switch. Within about 2 days, she just woke up. She was a different person. But about the end of the first week and a half or so, she just really started to feel awful again. And by this time I'd done enough study, because I was like, wow, what happened? And so I dove into the science and started to realize what this really was. And again, my mindset was, well, maybe we're not taking enough. And so we just started to pile it on. And it took 3 to 4, I forget the exact amount of time, but within a month and a half. And we just kind of had to nurse her through this. We didn't know enough then to say more hydration. So we didn't even know what was going on. I got a hold of Dr. Hayes, who was my sponsor, and I go, "What's going on? You're the pain doc. Tell me why is she hurting?" And then she started to explain, well, this is a detox reaction. And so we just kind of had to bide our time. I think if we'd done it over again, we'd have done some smart things like Dr. Morin's suggesting.
Yeah.
And some people, maybe they have to acclimate a little more slowly.
But detox isn't bad. Our body is detoxing. Our body is detoxing every day.
Yeah.
Correct.
And that's the point. And so as we detox efficiently, and it's kind of like water skiing. Once you get up on top of flat water, it's pretty easy. But getting up there, that takes a lot of energy, and some people can be affected by it, and they mistakenly assume that it's not working.
Mm-hmm.
Good analogy. Okay,
Jim, can I talk a little bit about some of the research real quick? I don't want to turn this into a research call.
Yeah, we got a couple of minutes. We can go a little bit over, so we're good. Go ahead.
But one of the things you have to understand about my background, it was all in the research laboratory. And when I look at the research that this company is doing and working and partnering now with the best laboratories in the world, I am very, very impressed. This is top quality research, and I wouldn't say that about every research project out there, because some of them are quite skeptical. I'm very skeptical of the results they claim. Anyhow, but with this company, I think this is totally trustworthy results. Starting with athletes and measuring their performance, just a huge jump. It's not hard to find some of these studies. It went on to studying genes, and we basically have the ability to flip our genes on and off. Quite frankly, folks, on is better. So we have, and then we've gone on to, because of that gene study, we found some of the physiology patterns in the cell that were affected by those genes. And now we're studying those little pathways. And the results are staggering. The results are so good that the scientists doubt their own results. That's going to happen for a while. Why? Because the scientists in this world have never had a chance to play in this sandbox. It's wet. It's not a sandbox, but they've not been able to work with this technology before. And so they're not going to see their 2, 3, 5% gain in function. They're seeing things like 40, 50, 60% gain in function, just like that light I flipped on. We're seeing the benefit between on and off. Marty likes his body and his cells on.
So tying into that, Lee, then we'll cut it off, maybe. A lot of people have a hard time comprehending that this is always going to work, that it cannot not work. Does that make sense? So that's hard, because when I was on all my pain meds, well, sometimes they didn't always work. But people have a really hard time understanding, wait a minute, that's salt water from Salt Lake City, and you're trying to tell me, well, now it works on plants, animals, and humans, and it really doesn't matter, but it works all the time. You just crossed the line of your nuts. Why does it work all the time? And Marty, if you want to tap into that, then Beth as well, then we'll stop it there. Lee?
Well, I think the best place to start there is to readdress what we spoke of earlier. And that is, we all in our society have a drug mindset. When we have high blood pressure, high blood sugar, migraine headaches, whatever it is, we go to the doctor and they'll give us something for it. We take it, and then we measure a result. If something's not happening in 30 minutes or 3 weeks or whatever, we would go back and we would have a disappointing outcome, and we'd say it's not working, and we'd make adjustments or choose a different drug or something. And so when people come at this is a different category. It's not a drug. We're not looking for receptor sites to turn off a pain or function receptors. What we're doing is we're improving cell function. This is that inner doctor thing. We don't have, there is no such thing as disease with healthy cells. Healthy cells don't get sick. So if I'm sick, that means my cells, by definition, are not well. They're not functioning well. And it's not an on-off thing. It's not a 100 to 0 thing. It can be many layers in between. And so we come at this with this mindset that says, all right, I'll try this for a couple of days. And if my expectations aren't met by whatever the barometer is I'm measuring, if they're not met, then it doesn't work. And my counter to that is that you don't understand cell health. This always works. Cell function is always working. And so when you fill the gas tank back up, as it were, when you replenish the signaling capacity in a cell, it always upregulates, it always works. Now, whether or not you feel it or not, everybody is different. Everybody has a different medical background, history, genetic, filter, and so forth. And so there's too many variables. And then the most important thing, I think, which we don't have time to get into, is just a real subtle biology principle called hormesis. Is we don't all have the same dosage, if I could use that term. I don't like to use that term. The amount, everybody requires a different amount, and it's kind of a sweet spot. You just need to take it longer or in higher quantities until you find where your set point is, where suddenly everything starts turning around. And it might be 3 months or 6 months or 2 years, but you don't just take vitamin C for 20 days and go, well, that's not working, I'm going to quit taking vitamin C. It's like, well, you got to look at your expectations.
Wow, that was perfect. Lee, anything you want to add to that, Marty and Beth?
Good.
Good.
I just want to say that I've just noticed in some of the chats that people are asking about detox in animals. For whatever reason, we almost never see detox in animals. They said, oh, how am I going to get my dog to drink more water so he doesn't detox? Honestly, that doesn't seem to be an issue with animals. I'm not even going to guess why not, but it really is it just doesn't seem to happen. So that's all I can say
think
about
on
that.
the animal side, animals don't walk away from benefits.
Well, they know what they need.
Humans do it all the time.
Well, intuitively, they know what they need as well.
Well, but the point is they shy away from this because they smell better than we do.
Yeah.
And so they're going to smell these molecules and say, I don't know what that is. But once we give them an experience, animalwebinar.com, password is in the chat somewhere, or you could listen to this recording again. It's going to be available by tomorrow. And redoxmatters.com, Dr. Lee's site, and you can listen to this recording again and find the spot where all these websites are listed. I saw a lot of questions about the websites, but when the animal has a little bit of training, a little bit of experience with this, your issue is not going to be getting your animal to drink it. It's going to be getting your animal out of your way when you're trying to drink it. The animals are going to become a pest because they know this is good for them. I just wish all humans would come up with that same conclusion.
Amen. Well, guys, that's the perfect place to draw the line and say this was awesome. Marty and Beth, we really thank your time. And Beth, we're just praying that you will completely recover, that your farm and everything will come back to normal and be blessed beyond that. I do want to just kind of bring up, like we typically do, please get back to the one that recommended you to come on to this. If you're new, give it a shot. Let's do it. You know, if nothing else, get 2 tubes of the gel and go around and apply to people that have any amount of discomfort. But just keep asking yourself, what if this is real? We have people that say this is the single largest breakthrough ever in health and wellness. Please also go to the proper places to do research. Dr. Osler has given us a tremendous blessing with healthymatters.com. Go to the video tab, and they've got all the recordings of these shows and other things with Dr. Walker, who will be our guest, by the way, on next Friday. Suggestions?
That would be
I'm sorry?
redoxmatters.com.
Redox Matters, I'm sorry. And please don't purchase it off of a Amazon website. Please go back to the one who made the recommendation to you. We are all, and Beth, you didn't get a chance to really talk about the blessings of the financial part of this, but just hit on that real quick.
Well, my ASEA check is now paying our mortgage while we have no income with horses. So we're going to be getting horses back into train because we've rigged up some temporary stalls. But honestly, we've had no income, and my ASEA check has paid all our bills. So that has been an incredible bonus, which I can't tell you how important that is. And as soon as we knew this, and we knew we were going to be without horse income coming in, Bill said, "Oh, thank heavens for ASEA. Thank heavens for ASEA." So you never know.
Well, and I will add on to that, Beth. Thank heavens for network marketing. Thank heavens that we had a founder that chose this route of marketing. He could have done it different, but he didn't, because he wanted to give the blessing back to us. If you don't like networking, I'm sorry. But if it wasn't for this business model, you wouldn't be here. So, you know, just understand what we've got. It's a divine gift, in my opinion. And our founder gave that divine gift back to me to allow me to get my financial dignity back. We were about ready to lose everything. So, guys, thank you. We love you guys. Thank you guys for coming on. We will be back again next Friday at 8 o'clock. We again, double boarded Dr. Dick Walker. Again, Maureen and Dr. Osler will be back with us as well. So thank you. The recording will be up again at redoxmatters.com within about an hour. So, guys, thank you again. Beth, blessings, and Marty, same as you. Tell Kathy we all said hi and we love you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye,
Take care,
everybody.
guys.
Good night.
Bye-bye.